Yeah, on the flip side, we saw Secret. They had the option last game. Instead of first pick, they opted to go for the Radiant side, so both teams get what they want.
And I guess it brings to mind CDEC as well, another team who really prioritizes Dire, and in some ways, it was something that was discussed yesterday, is it feels like maybe CDEC has influenced the way other teams are starting to pick and decide what they prioritize in the draft, because they're just winning so much on that Dire side, and we're going to see it again here. And with that, the teams will get underway. Game 2 has begun. eHome leading Secret 1-0. Secret, a loss here, puts them in the lower bracket, something I think that would really mess up most people who did a bracket before the event. So with that, let's talk a little bit more about a couple of the points that you brought up during the draft. The first thing that you mentioned was you feel like CTY has really matured a lot as a player.
Yeah, before he has a nickname that isn't all too flattering. It's the 6-minute god, but I mean, we saw in that last game, he struggled really hard in the laning phase. He had such a good start, getting a kill. He had the first bounty rune of the game, and Arteezy still manages to solo kill him in the lane. But after the 20-minute mark, it was all CTY. Once he gets that Bloodstone, leading the charge every single time, doing zips across the map, playing absolutely fearlessly, initiating and forcing those inopportune BKBs by Arteezy. It just shows the maturation of a great player.
Somewhere along the way, and who knows if it was ROTK, if it was Lanham or DDC, or perhaps someone else he played with, he had discipline instilled in him, because this is a player that would go on tilt when he started at Dota 2, and it's been true for a lot of the younger players as they rose through the scene. He actually left the game for a while. He started to play League of Legends, but man, he's back in a big way. We might have a rumble here off the bat. It's ZYF up in front, taking some initial harassment from Puppy, and 3 heroes are going to come in. They get off the Battle Hunger. Just really want to secure this route, and CTY engaging, but the cast will bounce. Oh, this could be bad for eHome off the bat. DDC, the body blocks from Zai. Very nicely done. The flip, not going to save him. And Secret get right back to work, taking the first blood and grabbing the bounty rune there, although Arteezy did not get the bounty rune bottom. That was grabbed by RTK, who harassed him pretty heavily here to start, but Arteezy's got a lot of regen, 7 tangos and a salve, so he was ready to trade.
And I like this from Secret this game. They've actually given the mid lane back to S4, who's playing the Shadow Fiend, a hero I thought they were incredibly successful with, but I don't like to see S4 playing those mech carriers that naturally just sit in the back of the fight, don't really have playmaking potential. I feel like this is S4's role. This is how he won a TI. This is what they want to get back to. Giving him a hero that can just do a lot on the map.
Yeah, and it's a hero that has a nice kind of balance, as you're getting at. Not only can he scale with farm, but he doesn't really have to sit and farm. Once Shadow Fiend gets that first item, the treads maybe as well, he can start making plays, and then Arteezy can play the 4 protect 1 with Shadow Fiend more in a team fighting type role. So it's a more versatile opening. They are going to make a move here on Zai top lane though. Trying to chase him at the same moment. There's also action bottom. It looks like Zai is taking heavy rock barrage damage. RTK able to surge away in the bottom lane. Zai the man in danger. Puppy with the body blocks. Beautiful blocks, but he's going to take the rocket barrage instead. Oh, he played so well to almost save Zai, but unfortunately this is a gyrocopter, and that meant he was right there to take a hailstorm of rockets on round number 2.
Yeah, that's the strength of the gyrocopter, is that the rocket barrage might be one of the top 2 spells in the game at the early phase. With just 1 or 2 levels, it has kill potential, which is pretty absurd, and that tells you why this gyrocopter is so favored, because pretty much any support pairing with the gyrocopter is successful. That's what allows you to see heroes like Dazzle picked up, where they're not typically the best laners. Same with the Night Stalker, but gyrocopter makes everything okay for your support.
I gotta say, we've got some great signs here. I don't think I've ever been portrayed as kawaii, but this might be the first time.
Oh, the WoW. We saw that guy. He has really sick hair.
Yeah, he does. He's
That's
got
a really
amazing
good
hair.
one.
He also has hair, which is more than some of us can say.
Wow, don't sell yourself. Don't sell period.
That was like
short.
the worst attempt to cover. You're like, there's nothing I can say.
I only feel sort of bad for people with that hair. Because I'm friends with Ted. And
I'm going to shave your head one night when you're not looking.
I'm okay with that.
Are you?
Yeah, it'll grow back.
Do you want to do it here?
That's what hair does.
Well, we're back underway. It seems that'll have to wait for another day, as Lanham takes a lot of tower shots on the way out. He's probably just going to have to go heal. They do get the kill. It forces his Fountain back, though, and Zai's going to be able to stick around in this lane, so he should get a little more space for experience. Look at the mid lane now. Now, this used to be an incredibly TA-favored matchup. There were some nerfs to the hero. There were some bugs fixed. CTY winning the lane so far slightly. He's 8-3, but it feels like nowadays the Shadow Fiends tend to do a lot better in this 1v1.
It is still a TA favorite matchup just because it's incredibly hard for the SF to get kill potential on her. And that's what you always want to look at as a mid laner. How can I kill him versus how can he kill me? It's really hard for the SF to get a solo kill, but with 2 traps, CTY could feasibly get a kill. That's what you have to concern yourself with. And at the same time, SF's weakness is that you can't really CS in the early game, but S4 is doing a really good job of keeping up.
S4 will get the rune bottom, courtesy of Kuroki's rotation, but it was RTK putting a lot of pressure there. Has hit level 2, no stacking just yet for the Darkseer, nor for the Shadow Fiend, but you got to imagine between those two plus the Anti-Mage, even the TA, I mean, there's 4 heroes in this game that can definitely benefit from jungle stacks across the map, so wouldn't be surprised to see the support start working on that soon. Arteezy with an aggressive blink in bottom. A matchup, I remember Black used to play this matchup a lot, and he felt like it's a matchup that Anti-Mage should really be able to dominate if he can get aggressive from level 1. Just walk up to a mana burn, you trade your HP regen, but you get rid of all of the Darkseer's mana. But this time they didn't have a support here when the lane started. So RTK's already hit level 3, he's almost got his soul ring, having more space than what you normally would get.
As you said, that he did exactly what you wanted. He blinks forward aggressively on him, already getting 2 levels of the mana break just to get aggressive. And Arteezy doing a good job of not needing any real supports, but I mean, Secret, they're kind of showing their hand there. They're saying to themselves, okay, if we're backed into a corner, game 2, you know, if we lose this, then we get dropped to the lower bracket. We're going to pick Arteezy, the Anti-Mage.
How much space do you see Secret getting in their jungle right now? They have a Shadow Fiend and an Axe, who both really want to use that space, but there's a TA in this game. You can put traps in the camps. You can also ward block them. They have a Night Stalker who's a pretty aggressive roamer. Do you think eHome's going to be able to get into the jungle and shut them down? Do you see them getting aggressive here in like the next 5 minutes?
I think during the second nighttime, it's going to be really crucial for them to get aggressive on the map everywhere. They just have to apply pressure. I actually felt like Secret, you know, they got their game plan off in the last game. They were able to apply pressure. They got aggressive in the jungle. It just took that one terrible fight where they have track, you've got a Storm with the Bloodstone, but those things don't exist this game. And I feel like eHome kind of read their strategy correctly this game as well, and they're saying, okay, we have to apply pressure. We can't just let Secret get comfortable, take our own jungle, and then slowly just kind of throttle us to death. We have to get aggressive. We have to pick a lineup that's just going to run at them, and I feel like that's what they have here.
One thing also worth mentioning is they did not have a very good Roche lineup last game. They ultimately got the Medallion, and they took Roche, but it wasn't like a lineup built for that. But this game, they have the Templar Assassin, something that CDEC has also done quite a bit, where Shiki will play it, and I mean, CDEC, I think, more than eHome, really value the early Roche, whereas eHome will kind of take it as a part of the flow of the game when they feel like they have the space for it. But definitely something Secret have to keep in mind, and until they get the Blink Dagger and the Axe, not really going to be as good at creating pressure around the map. They are pretty farm dependent here until they get the Shadow Fiend mech and the Axe Blink.
Yeah, the Templar Assassin, there was a time period where we saw her picked all the time when she first came out.
She was even like first pick material.
Yeah, she was just a lane dominator with almost no equal, but as time went on, you kind of saw her relevance drop off, but I think the biggest change to her was just the fact that the Deso, the cost of it is so low, you can go for the immediate Roshan after you grab it. Just you and one other hero can pretty much do it, and once you're able to get a 15-minute Roshan as a result of that, she can just snowball, and her natural weakness is she can't really initiate for you. Once you have an Aegis, you can't really stop her from going in.
And she could do it so safely because of the traps as well. So you always have some vision, you have an idea where they are, and this is the analysts called it a run-at-you lineup, and it can be. It definitely can be. They've got Gyro. We've seen this hero going for aggressive ganks very often in the tournament. Night Stalker, great roamer. They have Iron Shell, Surge potential on TA. That's terrifying, to put it mildly, but they don't have to. They can also farm Ancients. They can farm the jungle. They can go for at least a decent late game. So it feels like a very flexible draft, and even if it goes late, you've got Darkseer versus Anti-Mage. Used to be very annoying to play against him with the wall, and still could be a threat here. Also, you can get the Shadow Fiend Aura as well, so yeah, pretty irritating to play against.
For me, the onus is on eHome's lineup to really get aggressive. Because
so you want to see them take the fight this season?
Yeah, they have to in the early game because, like I said last game, there's no real natural counters to Storm last game. Like, yeah, you've got the Bane's Fiend's Grip, but that's in an ideal world.
Yeah.
But this game, the same exists for Arteezy's Anti-Mage. Lift is a terrible ability once the Anti-Mage has a Manta style. Same with that Silence from the Night Stalker. There's almost no hero on eHome that's going to build disables. Maybe in the ultra late game, you'll see a Darkseer get a Hex. But more often than that, we'll see him get a Blink Dagger, the Mech, the Shiva's Guard. And I actually think third item, he has to go for the Hex here because there's just no disables.
I mean, we saw what happens if you don't get that early lockdown on the Anti-Mage earlier today in the EG Complexity match. I was talking to some of the players. Some felt that we could have seen an Orchid Rush from Swindle. Also a possibility for a second item, Scythe Devices. We will unpause. We're going to get back underway now. Teams just needed a moment there. But didn't have the lockdown. And Arteezy, it was a worse game to lock him down than this one. Like, they really had nothing on the Anti-Mage, but this game still isn't exceptional once he gets the Manta.
Yeah, it's going to really come down to how aggressive eHome can get. And I think that's why they take the TA, just because they can go for the Roche and then play objective gaming. And I think that's how they have to play, because once that anti-mage gets maybe 3 items, there's no real peer for him in this game. And the Gyrocopter does an okay job of keeping up, but the split push game especially is going to be so hard for them to deal with.
Well, through the early laning stage, it looks like eHome, their 2 main cores getting slightly more farm here, but at least as far as the Gyrocopter goes. But overall, the next wave of heroes on Secret doing a much better job of CSing, and as a result, they've already pulled ahead by 500 gold, closing in on 1,000 experience as we see Kuro walk down into the river, confidently going to place an observer ward on the high ground. That's a great ward to have. It's the first nighttime, and it's Lanham on the move. Puppey tank going deep within the trees. He's created a little nest, but it's a trap, Puppey! Oh, he's just cornered himself in the end. Home with the big tower dive. They'll get some experience, and now the pressure going out immediately. You can see Arteezy starting to constantly hit creeps. Wants to counter push this bottom lane a little bit. No Darkseer is likely not here because of that lane ward, and in fact, he's not. RTK off in the woods, trying to play the jungle game. So for now, the tower pressure early going the way of eHome, and well, TP actually getting cancelled. Secret really not going to be able to defend this tower at this point.
Yeah, but at the same time, this Gyrocopter isn't keeping up with anti-mage and farm. The anti-mage is miles ahead of anybody if you want to look at it that way. 34 CS in just 5 minutes.
It's 7 CS a minute. He's almost flawless here, and he's up against the Dark, so you have to let it under your tower even at times, which can be very difficult. So, as you point out, Arteezy having a great start to this game.
And that's going to bode bad news for eHome as they want to try to get aggressive as fast as they can. CTY is about to pick up that level 6, which he does. He's going to try to look for opportunities on S4, but S4 is just playing the patient game. He's forcing out the lane as fast as he can and making it really difficult. What CTY wants in an ideal world, you want a decent creep advantage, so the S, there's nothing that can just break your refract. If you right-click the SF in the middle of a creep wave, you're just going to get right-clicked back.
Here's the smoke, and let's see where they head. Kuroki move